This video will show how you can transfer pattern markings on your fabric from the tissue paper. So before I start sewing, I want to make sure I transfer all of my marks. I'm going to show you on piece 3, which is the body for all views. You would do the same thing on all of the other pieces for your view. So first, let's look at the notches. So these are on the edge of the pattern piece. Their job is to help me line up my fabric pieces together correctly for when I am sewing my Plushie Pet project. What I prefer to do is when I'm cutting out, cut outward like I did over here. So I cut these 3 little notches away from the cutting line. But over here, I accidentally missed that one when I was cutting it out. So you can then just go back and mark with a marking pencil like I did here. I made this blue mark on both sides. You can also make a small little just like snip in the fabric inward. You just want to make sure it's really small so that it doesn't end up with a hole in my seam. So I prefer to just do the marking pencil. Next, we have different dots we need to mark. So if I look at this dot here, that one says it's for view E. I'm making view D in my example, so I wouldn't need that one. And then down here, it says view ADE, so I do need that one. This one is ACD and E, and I need that one. This is a placement line for if I was doing view B. So I need these 2 dots for my view D. So how you can mark the dots is you take just a straight sewing pin and put it through the center of the dot. And then you can see where your pin goes through the fabric. That's where the dot is. So then you have to do this on all the layers. And I usually like to do it on the right and the wrong side just to make sure I can see the dot at whatever point I need to. And then lastly, we'll be right here. And then I can see, once I take that out, I have a dot on the wrong side and the right side at both of those, on all pieces of my fabric. And then I'll do the same thing with this one. Then the way I would mark these dots on any of my pattern pieces is the same. Next, I have my dart that I need to sew here. I like to mark the dots the same way as I did these. And then to mark the actual line for the dart, I'm going to use what's called a tracing paper and a wheel. So this is the wheel, and then get a tracing paper that is in a color that will show up. And then this is usually like a wax or a chalk paper, and it has one side that's just plain tissue paper, and then the other side has the color on it. You can feel, this is like a waxy one, and you can feel it. So I want my tissue paper to be contacting the right side. If it's big enough, what I'll do is I'll put the color side up, then my fabric on top of it, and then just fold that over. This way I can mark both pieces of fabric at the same time. And then I'll line my tissue paper back up. If I'm worried about it moving around, I can just put one pin there to help hold it. And then as I put the wheel over these lines, it should transfer the wax or chalk from the tissue paper onto my fabric. This is also how you could mark any placement lines on any of the pattern pieces. Like if I was doing view B, I can mark this placement line the same way. If I lift up the tissue paper and I remove this, then I can see there is my line for the dart, and it transferred on both sides. Any parts where it looks a little faint or hard to see, like here, then I can just put that back down and I can just go over that part a little bit more. It does take moderate pressure. You don't need to be pushing so hard that you're going to rip the tissue paper or anything like that. But if I'm seeing it doesn't look like it's showing up clearly, then I try it again. Or if you still couldn't see it, then maybe you try a different color of transfer paper, which is what this is called. On my dart, I also want to mark this on the wrong side. So I'll separate my layers. Now I folded it with the colored side of the transfer paper out. Lay that back down, and then same thing. And you can do the fabric pieces separately. I just find it more efficient to do both at the same time. And that I'll mark these dots just like I did before, and then I'll need to continue that on all my other pattern pieces. This can be a little time consuming to transfer all the markings, but it's really important and will make the sewing go easier for you as you're following the steps in the guide sheet and in this tutorial.